Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is definitely the hardest video I have ever had to film in my entire life. And I've told myself previously, like, I would never talk about this on my channel. I just, I'm sure I've mentioned it lightly, but I'm not going to go into detail about it. I'm not going to mention it. It's not my story to tell. It's just something that I feel like was a little too personal, especially, it was just too personal. And then, recently, you guys have heard about 13 Reasons Why. And for some reason, I was not into, well, obviously, for the main reason, I was not into watching it. I did not want to watch it. I was kind of upset that someone actually made a series centered around suicide. Like, I was just like, why would they do this? It didn't make any sense to me. I was kind of upset because I'm like, what it's going to do is open doors for people to think this is okay. And then I had actually ended up talking to one of my husband's coworkers who had actually watched it, and they were telling me like it wasn't the way I thought it was, and that I did need to, watch it. And so I ended up watching it. And after, I want to say, the second episode, I was hooked. Like, I literally watched it within 1 week. And that was probably the hardest thing to ever watch because I've experienced that within my life. And as soon as I finished it, the very last day, the very last episode, that was the same day that the news put out that the singer from Linkin Park had actually committed suicide. And that was actually the same day that it was the anniversary of either Robin Williams' birthday or when he had committed suicide as well. And so it was so much going on. And then seeing that very last video, the very last episode of that series, I was just like, I have to say something. I have to put it out on my channel, even if this just helps one person. I'm not going to go into any amount of details that I shouldn't, because at the end of the day, I want to respect my friend's family, but I also want to put it out there to raise awareness, because even when I was teaching high school, there were a lot of students that felt like they weren't beautiful. I remember having them write like an essay and saying they weren't beautiful, they felt unimportant and everything like that. And it just made me feel so sad, because it was like every single student that I had, I was like, wow, they were all uniquely beautiful in their own way. Like, every single person, like, I know this sounds stupid, but there aren't ugly people. Everyone is uniquely beautiful in their own way. There is a quality about you that you will never find in someone else. And it's so sad to see so many young teenagers and even young adults to like so lost and feeling that they aren't important and they aren't needed in the world. And I've seen a lot of YouTubers lately put up things about being, kind of like they're not important either, and then having a lot of anxiety and things like that. And it's just like, it's crazy how in a world that connects everyone from across the world, how alone so many people feel. And I want to make this video because I want to help one person out there to let you know you're not alone. And if you ever feel like you're not important, that you aren't worth anything, then you need to speak to someone, and you cannot let that stay inside, because worst comes to worst, you're going to do something that you will regret and that others will be hurt with as well. So I'm just going to share with you a little bit of what happened within my story, and then I just have a few little words at the end. So I have this diary here because I put a journal article the very day it had happened. I wrote a journal article about it, and there's some things that you will always remember happening no matter where you are. You just remember what happened exactly to the point of when you found something out. I remember finding out when my grandmother passed away when I was in college. I can tell you what room I was in college. I can tell you who was with me. I can tell you how I felt like. I felt like, I couldn't breathe for a second. And this is the same situation that happened, but at the same time, it was like a loss. Like, it was just like, how, It's different if it's someone who's older and someone you would never expect at such a young age. So my friend, I actually knew, and I'm not going to mention his name, but I knew him for, I want to say, as long as I can remember. I don't even remember meeting him because I feel like I've always known him. my mom is close friends with his aunt, and I don't know if they still do, but they used to go running every morning, and it was like a group of 3, I want to say, like my mom's other friend, her, they would go running every morning, and when they were running, they would always pray about different things that were like going on in their lives and things like that. And so my mom's friend, she was the aunt to my friend. And he was always at the church that I used to go to. And his cousin and him were like this. They were inseparable. Even, I just remember at such a young age, like he was a little bit younger than his cousin. Like he had an older cousin, and but they were always together. And so I would see him every Sunday. You know, you become friends with people at your church. And it was just like more of an acquaintance thing. But then my mom had started doing a tutoring business after school, and his mom had heard about it, and she had actually had him start going. So after school, my mom would have kids come over and tutor them, and when, you know, there would be times where you just hang out and everything and just talk. And I do remember just getting close to him that whole year and a half that he was there. And it wasn't just like I was close with him, like my entire family became close with him. We were really close with, I want to say, all of the kids my mom tutored. But you know, you get a bond with everyone as a kid growing up. Like you just become friendly with people. And he was the type of person that would light up a room. I'm not even lying to you. He would smile, and everybody, you know, was like, it's just, he had that spark. When he laughed, literally, it was so contagious. And he was just a jokester. He was always like happy. Like he was just the happiest person. And if someone was to put him in a lineup with a lot of other people and say, okay, pick the one person who would have committed suicide, and I would have never in my life picked him. He was just so happy and, you know, just so bubbly, and he had, you know, a contagious like type of personality where if you met him, you would want to be his friend. And so he stayed tutoring at my mom's, I want to say at least like a year and a half. And he was actually the one that ended up getting me, if you guys watch the Worst Punishment Storytime, he was actually the one that ended up getting me the Eminem 50-cent CD, because he had this little side business where he would make CDs, and he'd be like, okay, what CD do you want? You tell him the CD, he'd make it, you know, you pay him, I think it was like $5 a CD. And so, or maybe it was $2.50 and I got 2 for $5. I don't know, but either way, he was making his little hustle over there. And I just remember, yeah, like just hanging out with him, joking around. Sometimes when my mom would give the kids breaks, we would all go outside and he would play basketball with my brother. And it was just like just another friend. I don't know how to explain, but he was just a friend. And everyone got along with him so well. So after a year and a half, he had stopped coming to the tutoring. So he came, I want to say, when he was like during the summer, and also when he was a freshman. And then sophomore year, he did not come. So I didn't see him for a few months over summer break. And then in September, they had like a thing at my church where it was kind of like a banquet. And he came up and gave me a hug. And I remember when he gave me a hug, I had to look up because that's how tall he was. Like, if someone was to say, okay, what do you think he would have become? I would have said either basketball or he's going into business, because he just had that personality where he was definitely going to be a basketball player or he was going into business. That's exactly what it was. And so I just remember him giving me a hug and we were talking, and, you know, it was just really chill. And then that was back in September. I think he had just had his birthday around that time, and he had turned 16. And I want to say it was the end of October. I was on MySpace, and that's when MySpace was really big. In fact, to this day, I can go online and find his MySpace, and it's still up exactly how it was. But I think a few things have changed actually, because MySpace did something over, but his page is still there. So I went on there and I messaged him, and I was just like, hey, you know, something told me to message him, and I was just like, hey, how are you, or how you been, and something like that. And he was just like, oh, good, how have you been? And then we didn't reply anymore. Like, I didn't reply, or, you know, the conversation stopped. Like, it was just like one way, and that was it. And then a week and a half later, 2 weeks, I woke up. I want to say it was a Saturday. I could be wrong. I have to look at the date. I woke up Saturday morning, and it was quiet kind of in the house, but I heard my mom crying, and I went downstairs, and she was standing in the hallway next to the kitchen, and she kind of still had the phone in her hand, but she wasn't on it. And I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And she was like, and she gave the name, and I'm like, well, what's wrong? And she's like, you know, he committed suicide last night. Literally, I felt as if someone took all of the wind out of me. Like, I was just in shock. It was just the shock, like, of your life. And it's the saddest thing, because it's like you're replaying everything, every last moment you had with this person. You're wondering what happened, why. Like, especially someone who didn't show signs, had so much potential in life. And it's just like, you don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe it. And so I remember my sister coming down, my mom telling her, and she started crying, and it was just, we were all crying. And so I'm going to read the journal article that I have here that I wrote. And I might have to take some things out, because some things are a little personal. I don't think that I don't need to explain what he did or how he did it. I don't think that's important. So, okay, so, oh, sorry, his obituary fell. It says, you never know what a person is going through. I think that's what hurts the most. Yesterday, Mom told me, and I put, what happened? It would happen. I always thought, you know, he would, I always thought he was smarter than that. Or I actually thought he was extremely good looking. I'm short, and you really had to look up when you were talking to him. I saw him last 2 weeks ago on October 14th at the church breakfast. I remember Mom talking to him, and then he turned to me and was like, you're not going to give me a hug? And then I put, he was really tall, so whenever you talked to him, you had to look up. But what gets me is how he was just 16. Why? Why ruin your lives and the lives of people around you? I talked more about his family, and I said his whole MySpace page is full of people writing him letters. I want to write something on there, but I don't know what. I said I pray for him right now, and I'm praying for his girlfriend, you know, because he was dating someone at that time. And I said, I want to cry, but if I do, I won't be able to stop. I remember going to his funeral. That I've been to several, and as a kid that may sound weird, but I've been to several funerals. It's something that, you know, we just were used to, because we knew a lot of people in our church, and a lot of people in our church were actually older. And so even who my mom knew. And so if someone was to pass away, my mom would take us. And to us, it was just like, it's kind of awkward when you go to a funeral, because you never know whether you should smile or not, because you smile because I'm always smiling. I'm a nice person, so I'm like, I always have a smile painted on my face, like, I don't know why. But at that funeral, I can tell you, I never once felt like smiling. It was just like I felt sick to my stomach the entire time. I remember his entire school was there. And it was just, everyone who usually goes to a funeral is older. I've never seen a funeral with so many kids my age, if that makes any sense. I was 17 at the time. I was a junior, so he was a sophomore. He would just turn 16. And it was so sad. It was so sad, because you see all of the love that someone or everyone had for that one person, and it's sad because he was never able to see that. And you know, it was just, it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was probably the worst, one of the worst days of my life. Like, I just felt so sad. And I just remember a few weeks later, my sister and I, we, because we were close to him, so we were walking home one day from piano practice, and we lived where he is buried. And I just remember going in there with her, because when someone passes away, and it's kind of like the same thing with 13 Reasons Why, if a person passes away unexpectedly, it's not, it's going to take a little bit for them to get like a little tombstone, little grave, like heading thing. So my sister and I remembered where he was buried, but he didn't even have it yet. So the little tombstone thing, so it was hard for us to find exactly where he was, like which one it was, because it was a few weeks, if that makes any sense. So we couldn't find which one it was, but we knew where he was. Like, we knew we were in that area, but we could not find him. So I just remember walking around with her around that area, because we knew we were there, but we couldn't get to him, if that makes any sense. And we just like held each other, cried and prayed, and you know, we just, I don't know. And the worst part about it is just knowing how much potential someone had to do something great. Like, when I tell you, he could have probably put his mind to do anything he wanted to, because that's how he had the personality. He was smart, you know, he had the whole package. And yet I don't want to say like he didn't believe in himself, but you know, he didn't see what everyone else saw. I don't know if it was premeditated or not. I have no idea. But I never saw the signs. Never saw the signs. And that's what they say in 13 Reasons Why. They say, they're always like, at the very end, I think it was, they were like, what does suicide look like? And it looks like you and me. It doesn't look like anything. Like, you really have to pick up on the smallest detail ever to even think if someone is thinking about it, if that makes any sense. Like, some may be more detectable than others, but more than likely people are hiding their feelings, and the people who laugh the most are usually the people that are crying inside and hurting. And I know I laugh a lot, and I'm completely fine. I'm telling you guys, like, I'm fine. But there are a lot of people who are like that who aren't. So many people feel like that's like a way out. It's like, oh, if this happens, I don't have to worry about my problems anymore. I'm done. That's it. You know, everything's great. But it's not, because at the end of the day, suicide does not end your problems or your feelings. All it does is transfer them to someone else. I don't know if anyone's ever heard that before, but like, when I heard that, I was like, wow, because it's so true. Just because it ends for you, all you've done is passed it along to someone else. And you may not feel like that's what your intentions were in committing suicide, but that's what happens. And for me, now that I'm a mom, looking back, it just makes me so sad, because sometimes teenagers, you know, they feel like, oh, I can't tell my parents anything because they're not going to feel the same way, or they, you know, they just won't understand. And I'm telling you, back when I was a teenager, I felt like my mom didn't understand anything I was going through. I felt like, you know, we were just on different wavelengths. Like, she was here and I was here, and she just could not get what I was going through. And now to this day, my mom is my best friend. And I realized there are so many things that I have gone through in life where if I had just spoke to her or even listened to her when she was talking to me, nothing that I was having trouble with would have been that deep as to what it was if I had just asked for help, if that makes sense. And there are so many times that people are afraid to ask for help or afraid to show themselves as being weak, but it doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong to be able to tell someone that, you know, you're hurting, or, you know, I'm not feeling the same way that I'm feeling, or I feel depressed, or, you know, I'm feeling sad. It's fine to tell someone that. I hate how this world has us feeling we have to be so perfect, because at the end of the day, no one is perfect. And after watching 13 Reasons Why, I'm kind of glad they did make that, because it's important to raise awareness on suicide. A lot of people do not like to mention it. And then when it happens, it's kind of like it happens, they brush it under the rug, you don't hear about it anymore. But it's really, I think it's like, what did they say, the second killer in teenagers today? And it's important to speak on things. And this world is raised, especially our school systems, in America at least, are more interested in how you are learning academically than how you are advancing emotionally, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like there needs to be more set in place about how students are feeling emotionally. I'm kind of like glad now that I've watched it that they brought awareness to it, because if they didn't, I would have always thought it's not my place to speak about it. I don't need to tell people about it because, you know, it's not my place. But I feel like it needs to be out there for people to know that they aren't alone. And I'm sorry if you hear a train in the background. We live near a train. But yeah, like, it's important to know you're not alone, and it's important to look out for the signs in others. I feel like I just had to come out and say, you're not alone. If you're feeling as if you are, you need to speak to someone. If you don't have anyone to speak to, there is a hotline that you can call. I will put the number down below. If you don't even want to call the hotline, message me. I will not tell anyone else you message me. I will message you back. I will do everything I can to speak to you and help you, because you're not alone. And then for those who may not feel like it, there's another thing that I have to say, and it's just to be kind. There are so many people I see that may not actually, you know, not purposely be mean, but they may not actually think about others' feelings. And your smile, that's why I make sure I smile at everyone. People may think I'm crazy, but I always make sure I'm smiling, making eye contact with everyone I meet, because at the end of the day, you never know what your smile can do for someone else. It may seem small and insignificant, but with a world that's actually all about being catty and, you know, just ridiculous, it's important to just be kind to one another. Even if you have to do something small that you don't think anyone would care about, you never know what your feelings and what you do how it will affect someone's day. So it's better to affect someone positively than affect them negatively. And you could be the chance and the last chance between them actually doing something. Please open your eyes. Be aware of the situations that are around you. Speak to others with kindness and love. And just make this world a better place. If so many more people were kind, I feel like there would be so many less people feeling so sad and alone. I couldn't go into crazy amounts of details just for respect for the family, and I don't think that was necessary anyways. But, and I won't be answering how he died, because I don't think that is important. So don't bother putting it down below. Because as respect to him and his family, I will not be mentioning that. I won't be mentioning his name. I won't be mentioning anything of that nature. But I just wanted to make this video because I just think it's important to get out there to know you're not alone. You are important. You are loved. God loves you. You are not alone. That's it for this story time. It's not really a story time in a way. It's more of like an awareness I felt like I needed to mention. But that's it for this. Sorry for getting so emotional for you guys. Sorry for this being such a down, mellow video. I promise everything will be back and, you know, perky on my channel. But after watching 13 Reasons Why, just been weighing so heavy on my heart to bring this up and bring awareness about this on my channel, because I feel like it needs to be heard. So that's about it. I'll see you in my next video, and thank you guys so much for watching, and always be kind to one another, because you never know when someone needs it the most. Bye.